roller coaster scream is an urban legend that has haunted listeners for decades, a chilling tale of terror embedded in a seemingly innocent funk track. The story surrounds the hit song Love Roller Coaster by the Ohio Players, a high-energy tune that took the airwaves by storm. But hidden within its upbeat rhythm lies something far darker, a blood-curdling scream that echoes during the instrumental break. At first, it seems like nothing more than an artistic touch, a wild sound effect to emphasize the chaos of the roller coaster ride. But the scream is so raw, so horrifying, that it feels out of place. It doesn't sound like joy or excitement. It sounds like fear, pure and primal, and that's where the legend begins. According to the tale, the scream isn't a manufactured sound effect at all. It's said to be the desperate cry of a woman in her final moments, captured in the most horrifying of circumstances. Some claim the scream was lifted directly from a real-life emergency call, recorded as a woman was being attacked. Others insist that the sound came from the studio itself, where a model, allegedly the woman featured on the album cover, was violently murdered after an argument with the band. The eerie scream has been dissected and analysed, yet no definitive answer has ever been given. It lingers as an unsettling reminder of how closely horror and reality can intertwine. Whether it's a creative flourish or a recording of something truly sinister, one thing is certain. Once you've heard the Love roller coaster scream, you'll never forget it. And every time the song plays, you might wonder, what if the legend is true? What if that scream belongs to a ghost whose cry for help was immortalised in the music, forever haunting the track? Let's journey into the peaceful waters of the Pacific coast, where legends of Cadborosaurus, a mysterious sea serpent, drift in the waves. Relax and let the soothing tale unfold. Cadborosaurus, affectionately known as Caddy, is a legendary sea serpent that has captured the imagination of many along the Pacific coast of North America. Its name is derived from Cadboro Bay, a coastal area in Greater Victoria, British Columbia, where it has reportedly been spotted numerous times over the years. The legend of Caddy has become a staple of local folklore, with stories of its sightings stretching from Alaska to California, although British Columbia remains its most frequent haunt. Described as a massive, snake-like creature, Cadborosaurus is said to possess a long serpentine body, often estimated to be between 10 to 50 feet in length. Witnesses describe its head as horse-like, with large eyes, and sometimes small horns or fins protruding from the sides. The creature is also thought to have humps along its back, similar to the classic sea serpent imagery that has been passed down through various cultures around the world. These humps are often visible as it glides just beneath the surface of the water, leaving a distinct wake in its path. Caddy's elusive nature adds to the mystery surrounding it. There are countless accounts from sailors, fishermen, and beachgoers who claim to have seen the creature, yet no definitive physical evidence has ever been produced to existence. The creature is usually reported to move with great speed, effortlessly cutting through the water, making it difficult to capture or photograph. Some theories suggest that Caddy could be a type of prehistoric marine animal that has managed to survive in the deep, unexplored waters of the Pacific. Others believe it could be an undiscovered species of giant eel or a relative of the oarfish, a long, ribbon-like fish known for its impressive size. Throughout the years, various expeditions and searches have been launched to find Cadborosaurus, but none have succeeded in proving the creature's existence. In 1937, the legend gained even more traction when the carcass of a strange sea creature, believed by some to be Caddy, was found in the stomach of a sperm whale. The discovery sparked a flurry of media attention, but the remains were never properly examined, and skeptics argue that the body was likely that of a known marine species. Despite the lack of solid evidence, the legend of Cadborosaurus lives on, inspiring curiosity and wonder about what might still be lurking beneath the waves. Tonight, we explore the mysterious legend of Black Aggie, a haunting statue once feared for its supernatural powers. Relax, settle in, and let this eerie tale gently guide you to sleep. Black Aggie is an eerie urban legend centered around a mysterious statue that once stood at the grave of General Felix Agnes in Druid Ridge Cemetery, Pikesville, Maryland. The statue, a somber figure draped in a cloak, resembled the well-known sculpture Grief by Augustus St. Gaudens. However, over time, Black Aggie became infamous for the supernatural tales that surrounded it. According to local law, strange and unsettling events began to occur after the statue was placed in the cemetery. People claimed that Aggie's eyes would glow red at night, and that anyone who looked into them would be struck blind or cursed. Another part of the legend states that if someone sat on Aggie's lap at midnight, they would either die within a year or be haunted by the statue. It was also rumoured that the shadow of Black Aggie would cause nearby grass to wither and die. Due to the growing number of ghostly tales and instances of vandalism, Black Aggie became a focal point for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many visited the statue either to test the legend or to experience the supernatural aura that surrounded it. The stories grew, further embedding Black Aggie into Maryland's folklore. Eventually, the statue was removed from the cemetery in 1967 to put an end to the disturbances it caused. Though the statue itself is gone, the legend of Black Aggie continues to captivate imaginations, with people still sharing stories of the haunted statue and the eerie events that took place in Druid Ridge Cemetery. Tonight we gently explore the captivating legend of Anastasia Romanov's survival. Settle in as we unravel the mystery of the lost Duchess and the hope that lingered for decades. The urban legend of Anastasia Romanov's survival is one of the most enduring and captivating stories of 20th century history. It revolves around the idea that Grand Duchess Russia, the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II, somehow escaped the tragic fate that befell her family during the Russian Revolution in 1918. While the rest of the Romanov family was believed to have been executed by Bolsheviks, rumours persisted for decades that Anastasia had miraculously survived and disappeared, living under a different identity. The legend began shortly after the Romanov family's execution. On July 17th, 1918, Nicholas II, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 children, including Anastasia, were shot and killed by Bolshevik forces in a basement in Yekaterinburg. Their bodies were taken to a remote forest where they were hastily buried in unmarked graves. When the remains of the family were discovered years later, the bodies of 2 Romanov children were missing, including that of Anastasia. This fueled speculation that Anastasia had somehow survived the massacre. The mystery of Anastasia's fate took on a life of its own, with numerous women over the years coming forward claiming to be the lost Duchess. The most famous of these claimants was Anna Anderson, who emerged in the 1920s in Germany. Anderson insisted that she was Anastasia, and that she had survived the execution thanks to the help of a sympathetic guard. According to her story, she had sustained injuries, but managed to escape and was taken to safety. Her claims garnered international attention, and while many doubted her authenticity, she also attracted a significant following of people who wanted to believe in the possibility that the Romanov princess had survived. Anna Anderson's story was captivating, especially in an era still reeling from the aftershocks of World War I and the Russian Revolution. The idea that one of the Romanovs had escaped the revolution and was living in secret was an enticing fantasy for many royalists and others who were sympathetic to the Romanov family. However, while Anderson's claim seemed plausible to some, many who knew the Romanovs dismissed her story. In the dark, misty roads of Japan, there's a terrifying tale that haunts the streets, one that sends a shiver down the spine of anyone who dares drive at night. It is the legend of the headless rider, a ghostly figure of a motorcyclist, forever cursed to ride the roads without a head. The story begins with a tragic accident that occurred years ago. A young man speeding down a desolate road on his motorcycle was unaware of the danger ahead. In the dead of night, someone, no one knows who, had stretched piano wire across the road, the thin, almost invisible strands ready to catch the unsuspecting. The rider, unable to see the wire in time, crashed into it at full speed. The wire snapped tight, decapitating him instantly, his head flying off as his body crumpled to the ground. His motorcycle slid to a stop, the engine sputtering its final breath in the silence of the night. But death was not the end for this rider. As the legend goes, the rider's ghost now haunts the road where he perished, a headless figure speeding through the night on his motorcycle. The faint sound of revving engines fills the air as he approaches, and those who have encountered him report seeing a rider in a dark helmet and leather jacket, his hands gripping the handlebars with unnatural force. But when they get close enough, the rider's neck is eerily empty, no head to be found. The headless rider is said to seek vengeance on those who dare drive too fast or too recklessly, as he once did. Many have reported seeing him in their rear-view mirrors, gaining speed until he's almost upon them, only for him to vanish just before impact. But some unlucky few have been followed, and on rare occasions they've felt the chilling brush of a headless figure passing by, a warning to never forget the deadly cost of speed. So, if you find yourself alone on a lonely, dark road in Japan and you hear the roar of a motorcycle behind you, be wary. South Korea, a strange and unsettling legend has persisted for nearly a century, a chilling warning whispered among families on hot summer nights. Beware of sleeping with a fan running in a closed room, or it may claim your life. Known as fan death, this belief insists that an electric fan left on overnight in a windowless room holds the power to kill, suffocating the sleeper in their bed. The origins of fan death stretch back to the 1920s and 1930s, an era of modernisation and new technology when the electric fan first arrived in Korea. Stories began to spread of people found dead in their rooms, the only constant a fan whirring beside them. The legend took on a life of its own, with families firmly convinced that a fan could drain the oxygen from a room, causing asphyxiation or lower body temperature to fatal levels. It became a superstition rooted in fear, and warnings echoed from generation to generation. Never sleep with the fan on, and always leave a window open. To this day, the fear remains ingrained in Korean households. In July 2011, the Korea Herald reported that a 59-year-old man had died mysteriously, with a fan aimed directly at him in his sealed room. It was as if the fan, silent and unseen, had become an executioner, waiting patiently for its victim. Some believe the fan spins like a sinister reaper in the dark, sapping the life from those who sleep too deeply under its cold breeze. Many scientists have dismissed the legend, but the fear lingers, and tales continue to circulate of those who ignore the warning, only to fall victim to the fan's deadly hum. The myth of fan death endures, a strange yet terrifying belief that leaves many cautious even today. Perhaps it's not merely a tale of superstition, but a reminder that some forces, once unleashed, carry a chilling weight that no science or reason can dispel. Clinton Road, a desolate stretch of asphalt in the heart of New Jersey, is infamous for its eerie atmosphere and the legends that cling to it like a cold mist. One of the most chilling of these stories is the tale of the ghost boy who haunts the old bridge along the road, forever waiting in the dark for those brave or foolish enough to seek him out. The legend begins with a tragic tale of a young boy who died under mysterious circumstances many years ago. Some say he drowned in the murky waters beneath the bridge. Others whisper that he was a victim of an accident, but no one truly knows. What is certain, however, is that his spirit never left the bridge. Instead it lingered, bound to the spot by the horrors of his untimely death, waiting for those who might encounter him in the dead of night. The story goes that if you visit the bridge on a quiet, moonless night and throw a coin into the dark waters below, something strange will happen. At first, it might seem like nothing more than a silly superstition, but as the night stretches on, the air will begin to feel heavy, thick with an unnatural silence. The shadows around the bridge will grow deeper, and you may feel an unsettling chill on the back of your neck, as if you're being watched. Then, if you return to the spot after a time, you may find the coin you tossed into the water resting at your feet, returned to you as though by some unseen hand. At first, It's easy to dismiss this as coincidence. Perhaps the current brought it back, or it was there all along. But those who have returned again and again tell a different tale. The coin isn't just lying in the same spot. It's placed right in front of you, as if someone or something wants you to find it. But the most chilling part of the story is the boy, some say. In the moments before the coin is returned, they've seen him, standing just out of reach, a small, pale figure. His face is obscured in the darkness, but his eyes are unmistakable. Empty, hollow, staring at you with an otherworldly intensity. He does not speak. He simply watches, waiting. And when you turn away, even for a second, the coin is there. Returned as if by magic, the boy's intentions remain unclear. Is he trying to communicate? Or is this some twisted game he plays with those who dare approach? No one knows, but one thing is certain. There is something deeply unsettling about the presence that haunts that bridge. Many claim that after encountering the ghost boy, they feel an overwhelming sense of unease, a feeling that they are never truly alone, no matter where they go. And so the legend of the ghost boy persists, drawing thrill seekers and curious souls to Clinton Road, where the line between life and death seems thinner than anywhere else. But for those who dare venture near the bridge, remember this: once you make contact with the boy, once you feel his eyes upon you, it may be too late to ever leave that haunted place behind, because some spirits never let go. In old cemeteries across the United States, there are weathered stone seats hidden among the graves, worn by time and cloaked in shadow. Known ominously as the Devil's Chair, these benches are more than mere sculptures. They are said to be gateways to the supernatural, places where darkness lingers and whispers are heard. Legends warn that those who sit on the Devil's Chair may not leave the same as they arrived, or worse, may never leave at all. One of the most infamous Devil's Chairs is found in a forgotten corner of a small cemetery in Kansas. It's a simple stone seat, cracked and faded, seemingly innocent, yet emanating a disturbing energy. Locals warn against sitting there, especially at night. They say that if you're brave or foolish enough to sit on it alone at midnight, the devil himself might appear, a silent figure lurking just beyond the veil of shadows. Some claim he'll offer a dark bargain, while others say he merely watches. His presence a weight upon your chest, stealing your breath. People who've dared to sit on the chair often report eerie phenomena. Some hear whispers, faint and mocking, as if unseen figures surround them. Others describe an overwhelming cold, a chill that seeps into their bones, or a sudden, paralysing feeling of dread. And the most disturbing accounts come from those who sit alone, feeling an invisible presence pressed down upon them, as if something is slowly wrapping its grip around their shoulders, squeezing them into the stone. More sinister still are the tales of those who sit in the chair only to find themselves haunted afterward. They hear footsteps behind them in empty rooms, see shadowy figures lurking just out of sight, twisted faces and mocking laughter. Legends say that the chair holds the souls of those who've lingered too long, bound to the stone by their encounter with the dark. Perhaps it is merely a relic of 19th century superstition, or perhaps, as the locals claim, it is a portal where the devil waits patiently, luring the curious and the desperate into his grasp. But one thing remains certain: those who leave the devil's chair rarely forget its chilling embrace. In the shadowed corridors of the uncanny, where art meets the supernatural, there echoes the unsettling legend of the crying boy. This painting, a mass-produced print by the Italian artist, known both as Giovanni Bragolin and Bruno Amadio, has stirred whispers of a curse since it first appeared in the 1950s. The portrait, depicting the tear-streaked face of a young boy with deep, sorrowful eyes, became a common fixture in homes across Europe, initially cherished for its poignant depiction of innocence and grief. Yet, beneath the surface of this seemingly benign artwork, darker forces seemed to lurk. The legend began to take shape in the 1980s, when a series of mysterious fires devastated numerous homes throughout England. Amidst the charred ruins, firefighters made a chilling discovery. While the flames consumed almost everything in their path, the prints of the crying boy survived unscathed. In one house after another, the painting was found amongst the ashes, its glass cover often the only thing left intact. These bizarre occurrences were first reported in a 1985 article in the Sun newspaper, which chronicled the strange phenomenon, igniting widespread fear and superstition. The tale grew more sinister with each telling. It was said that the boy in the painting was a foundling, taken in by Amadio, who discovered the child weeping beside the smouldering ruins of a building that had claimed his parents. Moved by his plight, Amadio captured the boy's eternal sorrow on canvas. However, dark rumours swirled that the artist had exploited the child's curse, for the boy was no ordinary orphan. Legend had it that wherever he resided, fires of unknown origin would inexplicably ignite. As the cursed painting's fame spread, so did accounts of misfortune attributed to it. Owners of the print reported inexplicable series of bad luck, with numerous testimonies of personal tragedies that befell those who displayed the painting in their homes. Some spoke of hearing the soft sobs of a child at night, the cries echoing through hallways, only to find the painting's eyes brimming with tears, as if the boy mourned not only his fate, but also that of those who gazed upon him. Frightened by these tales, many sought to rid themselves of the painting. Yet, disposing of the crying boy proved no simple task. Stories emerged of the prints being found intact at local dumps, or returning to hang on the walls they had once adorned, despite being thrown away. Others who attempted to burn the painting found that it resisted the flames, the boy's face peering out through the fire, his tears reflecting the inferno around him. Some curious souls, skeptics of the supernatural, delved into the painting's history, seeking rational explanations. They proposed that the varnish used by Amadio might have been flame retardant, a common practice among painters who wished to protect their work. Yet, no scientific explanation could fully dispel the aura of dread surrounding the image. who defy the curse to court disaster, whether a true bearer of misfortune or merely a subject of one of the most unsettling urban legends of the 20th century, the painting continues to fascinate and frighten, a testament to the power of art to move, to disturb, and perhaps to curse. Tonight, let's uncover the haunting legend of the Bell Witch, a mysterious entity that terrorized a family in early 19th century Tennessee. Relax and let this eerie tale guide you to restful sleep. The Bell Witch is an enduring folklore legend that originated in Robertson County, Tennessee, from 1817 to 1821. The story centers around the Bell family, particularly John Bell Sr., a farmer whose household and nearby community were reportedly terrorized by a mysterious and mostly invisible entity. Unlike typical ghost stories, the Bell Witch was said to be capable of speaking, interacting with the physical environment, and even shape-shifting. According to legend, the haunting began when John Bell Sr. encountered strange phenomena on his property, including unexplained noises such as knocking and scratching and the sighting of bizarre animals. As time went on, the entity became more aggressive, attacking family members by pulling their hair, slapping them, and speaking in a disembodied voice. The witch, as it came to be known, seemed to hold a particular hatred for John Bell Sr. and his daughter Betsy. The Bell Witch's powers reportedly escalated, with the entity predicting events and conversing with visitors to the Bell home. Some accounts even claim that the witch was responsible for John Bell Sr.'s death in 1820, allegedly poisoning him. Over the years, the Bell Witch legend has grown into a widely known ghost story, with many believing it to be one of the most famous hauntings in American history. While the true cause of the events remains a mystery, the story of the Bell Witch continues to capture the imaginations of those fascinated by the paranormal. The legend persists today, with people still visiting the site in Tennessee, where the Bell family once lived, in search of answers to the eerie tale. In the eerie world of haunted relics, few objects instill as much dread as the Dybbuk box, a small, unassuming wine cabinet steeped in sinister legend. Originating from Jewish folklore, a Dybbuk is a restless, malicious spirit believed to cling to objects or people, feeding off their misery and fear. The Dybbuk box is said to contain just such a spirit, bound within its wooden walls, waiting for the next unfortunate soul to open it. The box first gained infamy when it surfaced in an online auction, accompanied by the chilling story of its previous owner, who claimed his life was plagued with misfortunes and nightmarish experiences after acquiring it. According to the tale, the box box was originally bought by a young man at an estate sale. When he opened it, he found strange items inside. Locks of hair, a small goblet, a candlestick, and engraved Hebrew inscriptions. But it wasn't the items inside that terrified him. It was what followed. From the moment the box entered his home, strange occurrences began. Foul odours of decaying flowers and ammonia filled the air. Shadowy figures appeared in his periphery, and the eerie sound of faint whispers echoed through the night. Soon he began having violent, unexplainable nightmares of an old, hateful woman lurking at the edge of his bed, her eyes burning with malice. Each morning he woke up feeling drained, as if the spirit had sapped his very life force. The Dybbuk box changed hands many times, with each new owner reporting the same ominous symptoms: unrelenting nightmares, accidents, and a pervasive, sickening dread. One owner even suffered a sudden stroke shortly after acquiring it, convinced that the spirit trapped within the box had cursed him. Eventually, the Dybbuk box was sealed away, kept hidden from curious eyes, locked behind glass to prevent anyone from releasing the evil within. It has since become a relic of fear, a cursed object housed with great caution. Paranormal researchers who dare to approach it claim to feel an intense pressure, as if the air around it is vibrating with a dark, pulsating energy, ready to burst forth at the slightest touch. Today, the Dybbuk box stands as a chilling reminder of forces beyond our understanding. Many believe that the box should remain sealed, for to open it is to invite disaster. The warnings are clear. Disturb the Dybbuk box, and you may awaken something ancient, vengeful, and impossible to escape. A spirit that seeks not just to haunt, but to possess and torment anyone who crosses its path. In the shadowed peaks of California's Santa Lucia Range, there exists a haunting legend that has persisted for centuries. Known as the Dark Watchers, or as early Spanish settlers called them, Los Vigilantes Oscuros, these mysterious figures are said to lurk among the cliffs and ridges, observing anyone who dares wander too close. They are tall, towering silhouettes, human-like, yet somehow larger than life, standing motionless against the horizon, watching in silence. No one knows who or what they are, or why they appear, but every sighting comes with a feeling of dread, as if these dark sentinels hold secrets that mortals were never meant to uncover. Travellers who venture into the mountains often report a strange sense of being watched, even when alone. As they scan the landscape, they see them, figures draped in darkness, always at a distance, their outlines clear, but their features impossible to discern. They wear what appear to be long cloaks and wide-brimmed hats, though some say the figures shift and blur if looked at too long, fading into shadows, as if they were never there at all. Yet they reappear moments later, always at the edge of sight, still watching, waiting. Many believe that the Dark Watchers are ancient spirits, protectors of the mountains, or perhaps remnants of a darker time, cursed to roam these peaks eternally. Legend has it that they don't take kindly to those who venture too deeply into their territory. One story tells of a hiker who, upon noticing a figure in the distance, tried to approach it. As he drew closer, he felt an icy chill spreading through his body, a whisper on the wind urging him to turn back. When he ignored it and moved forward, the figure seemed to grow taller, its shadow stretching, consuming the very light around him. Panicked, the hiker ran, awoke to strange sounds outside their tent. A soft rustling, like fabric brushing against stone. In the morning, they found strange footprints around their camp, impossibly large, yet vanishing abruptly, as if the entity had simply melted into the mountain itself. People say that the Dark Watchers cannot be approached or interacted with. Those who have tried to take photographs or call out to them find that their equipment malfunctions, their voices swallowed by the stillness. The Watchers simply observe, their intentions unfathomable, as if bound by a purpose known only to them. Locals warn hikers to leave offerings if they must enter the mountains. In the shadows of Terrell, Texas, whispers and warnings have woven a chilling legend through the generations. A tale that clings to the fringes of nightmare and reality. They call her the Candy Lady, but behind the innocuous name lurks a sinister spectre named Clara Crane, whose story has haunted the town for over a century. The legend began in the early 1900s, when children in Terrell started to vanish without a trace. Desperate parents scoured the land, dredging the creeks and combing through the thickets, but none could unearth any sign of their missing offspring. As the community groped for answers, a disturbing pattern emerged. Children reported finding candies on their windowsills, pieces of caramels wrapped in crinkling parchment paper, with tiny notes urging them to come out and play. The notes were always signed with a simple, eerie C. Whispered tales from older folks traced the unsettling gifts back to Clara Crane, a woman once known among the townsfolk. Clara, they said, had lived on the fringes of Terrell, a reclusive and peculiar widow, whose only solace after the death of her abusive husband was her young daughter. Her life spiraled into darkness when her daughter mysteriously died, with local gossip suggesting foul play. The town shunned her, whispering that she had gone mad with grief, her mind twisted by the tragedy. Some said she blamed the children of Terrell for her loss, believing they had enticed her daughter into some fatal mischief. After her daughter's death, Clara vanished into obscurity, leaving only the decrepit shell of her home as a testament to her existence. But the story of the Candy Lady did not end with her disappearance. It was as if her spirit, unquelled by death or reason, continued to seek vengeance. The candies kept appearing, each piece an eerie invitation from beyond the grave. The most unsettling accounts involve letters found with the older children, written as if Clara herself were conversing with them from the shadows. These letters were more sinister, promising the children their fill of sweets in life and in death. It was as if Clara was crafting a congregation of souls, luring the innocent with sugar-coated deceit. Late at night, when the moon cast a ghostly glow across the fields, some claimed to see a figure near the edge of the woods, a silhouette of a woman in a tattered gown, her face obscured by the darkness. They said it was Clara, watching, waiting for her next child to claim. Those who dared to venture too close to the woods at night reported hearing the soft, unsettling melody of a lullaby drifting through the trees, only to be swallowed up by the suffocating silence of the unseen. To this day, the legend of Clara Crane, the Candy Lady, lingers in the air of Terrell like a thick fog. Parents tightly secure their windows, wary of the old tale, and remind their children to steer clear of the sweets that might appear unbidden. As Halloween approaches each year, the tension in the town tightens, a collective memory of the loss stirring in the hearts too chilling to be forgotten, and some spirits too vengeful to rest. Deep in the shadowy swamps of Fuke, Arkansas, a creature is said to roam, a nightmarish figure known as the Fuke Monster, also called the Boggy Creek Monster or Swamp Stalker. This beast has haunted the imagination of locals for decades, a being cloaked in mystery, terror, and shadow. The first chilling sightings began in the early 1970s. Witnesses described a hulking, ape-like creature standing over 7 feet tall, its body covered in dark matted hair. Its eyes glowed with an unholy red light, piercing through the dense fog that clings to the swamps. The creature was said to emit a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down the spine, a sound that seemed to echo deep into the forest, warning all who dared approach. The Fuke Monster didn't just lurk in the shadows. It was rumoured to stalk homes and farms on the edges of the swamp. In one particularly terrifying account, a family claimed the beast attacked their rural home, smashing through windows and clawing at doors in a frenzy. When they fired shots at it, the creature let out a blood-curdling scream and disappeared into the woods, leaving behind massive 3-toed footprints and a lingering sense of dread. Locals began to avoid the swamp at night, whispering that the creature was not merely an animal, but something darker, perhaps a spirit of the land, an ancient guardian awakened by trespassers. The area became steeped in fear, and many who ventured too close reported strange sounds, eerie movements in the underbrush, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Even today, the legend of the Fuke Monster persists. Some say it still stalks the Boggy Creek area, its red eyes glowing in the dark, waiting for the unwary to stumble into its domain. Others claim to have heard its haunting growl in the dead of night, a reminder that some creatures are meant to remain unseen, lurking in the shadows of the swamp, forever untamed. In the quiet, mist-covered village of Woolpit, Suffolk, there is a tale so strange, so unsettling, that it has echoed through the centuries, whispered in hushed tones by those who dare remember. The story is that of the Green Children, 2 children with skin the colour of freshly sprouted leaves, who appeared mysteriously in the village during the 12th century, their origins shrouded in darkness. The legend begins one fateful day when the villagers discovered 2 children, brother and sister, standing near one of the village's wolf pits, a deep, dark hole from which the village took its name. The children were unlike any the villagers had seen before. Their skin was a sickly green, their eyes wide with fear, and their clothes were strange, made of a fabric that none could recognize. They spoke in a language no one understood, their words a guttural foreign sound that only deepened the mystery. The villagers, both curious and fearful, took the children in, feeding them the only food they knew, bread and beans, but the children refused, their faces contorting with disgust at the food. It was only when the villagers offered them raw beans that the children ate, their hunger insatiable. Days turned to weeks, and slowly the children's skin began to lose its unnatural hue, fading from green to a more earthly tone, but the strange, eerie aura surrounding them never faded. The boy, frail and weak, soon fell ill and died, but the girl survived and began to speak. Though her words were fractured, her memories fragmented, she revealed a story so unbelievable that it has haunted Woolpit ever since. The children, she said, came from a place called St. Martin's Land, a realm that existed beyond the earthly world, a land where everything was green and the sun never shone. She spoke of strange beings who lived there, beings that looked like people but were not quite human. She told of a world where the sky was always twilight, and where she and her brother had wandered before they mysteriously found themselves in the pit. No one knows for certain what happened to the green children. The girl, now assimilated into the village, grew up and eventually married, but the strange origin of the children was never fully explained. Some say they came from a parallel dimension, while others whisper of an underground kingdom, or perhaps they were lost souls, cast adrift from some other, darker world. To this day, the tale of the green children of Woolpit lingers like a shadow over the village. The villagers of Woolpit still speak in hushed tones of the strange visitors, of the green-skinned children who arrived one day, never to reveal the truth of where they came from, and perhaps, more chillingly, where they went. In the shadowy annals of New England's history, amidst tales of spectral figures and cursed lands, the story of Eunice Cole, or Goody Cole, stands out with a chilling resonance. In the small town of Brentwood, New Hampshire, her name became synonymous with witchcraft and woe, her life a testament to the dark superstitions that once gripped the heart of the 17th century. Goody Cole was an enigmatic figure, her life shrouded in misfortune and mystery. First accused of witchcraft in 1656, she became the scapegoat for every disaster that befell the town, from unexplained deaths to failing crops and dying livestock. Her neighbours' fear and suspicion branded her an outcast, a woman touched by the devil himself. The townsfolk whispered that she could be seen muttering to herself in the woods, concocting strange brews and communing with unseen forces. Children dared each other to peek through her dimly lit windows, only to flee in terror at the sight of her shadowy form bending over a flickering flame. It was said that she cast curses with a glance and summoned storms with a wave of her gnarled hands. Her repute as a witch grew so dire that in 1673 she was accused once more. This time, the evidence was more damning, the fear more palpable. They dragged her before the court, her eyes blazing with defiance as the charges were read. Found guilty, she was sentenced to imprisonment, her final years spent in the cold, dark confines of a cell, where she was left to languish, forgotten by all but those who feared her curse. But death did not bring Goody Cole peace. The town, eager to rid itself of her malignant influence once and for all, buried her in an unmarked grave at the edge of the cemetery. They drove a stake through the heart of her plot, a grim ritual to prevent her tormented spirit from rising and haunting them. Yet, this act only solidified her legend, and it was said that her spirit lingered, malevolent and vengeful. To this day, eerie occurrences in Brentwood are often whispered to be the workings of Goody Cole's restless ghost. On stormy nights, some claim to see her figure in the flashes of lightning, wandering the woods or standing by her unmarked grave, still bound by the town's collective dread. Her legend has become a chilling reminder of the power of fear and the lasting stain of injustice, her story echoing through the centuries as a spectral tale of a woman wronged, her vengeance immortalised in the whispered fears of those who remember. Frederica, Delaware, there's a chilling legend that haunts the streets every Halloween night. It is the story of the hanging man, a figure that appears under the dim glow of the full moon, swinging silently from the branches of a tree along a desolate stretch of road. Years ago, a 42-year-old woman, driven by despair, took her own life in the dead of night, hanging herself from a tree by the roadside. Her body was found the next morning, cold and lifeless, her face twisted in a final, agonizing expression. But that should have been the end of the story. It wasn't. The first Halloween after her death, strange things began to happen. Drivers travelling along that stretch of road reported seeing a figure hanging from the tree, a silhouette swinging gently in the breeze, though no one had ever tied a rope there. But when they stopped to investigate, no body could be found. As the years went on, the sightings grew more frequent. Locals would whisper of a shadowy figure, always at midnight, hanging from the same tree, her body swaying as though caught in an invisible wind. But that's not the worst part. There are those who claim that if you stop your car near the tree on Halloween night and stare long enough, you can see the woman's face, twisted, pale, and filled with sorrow. Some say she will call out to you, pleading for help, her voice barely a whisper in the wind. And some believe that if you listen too long, if you dare to look too deep, you'll hear her whisper your name, just before the tree's shadow reaches out to claim you. In the dead of night, there's a number whispered among those brave, or foolish, enough to try. 999-9999. According to the legend, if you dial this number after midnight, an eerie voice on the other end will answer, ready to grant your deepest, darkest wish. But there's a catch. Whatever you ask for will come true, but your life will be the price. The legend has it that the voice on the other end is patient, almost amused, as if it's heard countless desperate pleas before. You might hear soft breathing or the faint sound of something shifting, waiting for you to speak your desire. Ask for fame, fortune, or revenge, and it's granted, swift and precise. But the moment your wish is fulfilled, your fate is sealed. Witnesses claim that people who dared to make the call found themselves in strange, terrifying accidents shortly after, as if some unseen force had come to collect their due. Stories tell of a girl who dialed the number to become the most popular student in school. She achieved her wish, but within days she was found dead under mysterious circumstances. Her phone lying beside her, with 9999999 still on the screen. Another tale recounts a young man who asked for unimaginable wealth, only to be discovered lifeless in his luxury apartment just days later, the phone's last call pointing to that same cursed number. In 2002, the legend inspired a horror film, 9999999, where the cursed number brings terror to those who dare to test its power. Even today, Some thrill seekers and skeptics dial 9999999 after midnight, hoping to prove the legend false. But as the silence stretches on and the dial tone fades, some swear they hear a faint voice asking softly, "What is your wish?"